Hi everyone, welcome to the November 2025 net worth video. Before I get into the numbers, just to give you background information about me. Hi, I'm Mona. I am 42 years old, single. I work in human resources within the financial services industry. I live in New York City. I'm a homeowner and I have one child who is 6 years old, and that child has special needs. All right, I thought that context was or would be helpful as I go through the numbers. Okay, so my net worth for November 2025 is $1,018,365.36. Honestly, I am really surprised that I am still a net worth millionaire, because the doozy that the stock market took us all through in the month of November, I thought for sure I was going to go below a million. Because if this is the first video you're watching of mine, I hit net worth millionaire status last month in October. So I am brand new to this milestone. And as you can see here in October, I was just like $5,000 over that $1 million number. So definitely wasn't a significant number. And then with the volatility of the stock market in November, I definitely again thought I would fall below that point. But that's why you just stay invested in the stock market, because you just never know what it's going to do. And I had some big dips, but it sort of kind of recovered at the end. So that's wonderful news. Okay, let's get into the numbers. Let's start all the way from the top with my assets. The first is my Bank of America checking account. This account is what I use for the daily expenses for myself and my daughter. So paying for our food, transportation, which in this case would be the New York City subway system, our mortgage, and anything else that goes towards taking care of us on a monthly basis. That amount typically is around $5,000. So this is why that balance is on average about $5,000. So the balance in November was $5,119.02. So that's a decrease of $342.42 from the prior month. Again, this is essentially a wash account because it just pays for myself and my daughter's monthly expenses. Okay, moving over to the Ally Bank savings account. This is a high yield savings account. Balance on that was $15,150.13. That's an increase of $7,600.13 from the prior month. I had stated in previous videos that my focus for Q4 of 2025 is to build up my cash reserves, and that's exactly what I did. I threw essentially most of the money that I earned in the month of November into the high yield savings account just to get it up to at least 15,000. And as you see here, I have surpassed that amount. So I am still going to be adding additional funds to this account through the end of the year, but I will be investing a little bit more aggressively into my brokerage account, just given that I've hit this milestone. And the ultimate goal for the cash reserves in the high yield savings account is for me to accumulate 1 year of expenses, which is about $60,000. So I'm in no rush to get there. I'm just doing it slowly, but I do want to continue to work on building this up because we are in a very challenging job market right now. There's a lot of uncertainty. The economy is not that great. So it's definitely in my best interest to build up my cash reserve, not at the sacrifice of investing, but build it up so I have some sort of security or more security for myself and my daughter. All right, and then moving over to my 401k, balance on that was $376,405.28. That's an increase of $915.91 from the prior month. My 401k, I did max it out back in March. So this is all gains. Now, because of the volatility of the stock market, this is substantially less than what it typically earns per month. Typically, it's a couple $1,000s in gains that it would have. So as you see here, just the stock market was just wild. So the 401k essentially barely increased from last month. And my 401k is 100% invested in the S&P 500. Okay, moving over to the M1 Finance taxable brokerage account. Balance on that was $318,396.80. That's an increase of $4,169.70 from the prior month. I did deposit $1,450 in cash in the month of November. So the actual gain on the M1 brokerage account is $2,719.70. The M1 brokerage account, it is 75% invested in the S&P 500, 23% invested in SCHD, which is a Schwab US dividend ETF, and then 2% invested in QQQM, which tracks the NASDAQ 100. All right, moving over to the Robinhood taxable brokerage account. Balance on that was $2,588.76. That's a decrease of $846.51 from the prior month. So that's a pretty big dip. Now, this brokerage account is my fund money. It's where I'm doing more risky investing. This is why the amount is small and will remain this amount. I'm not going to, put my money or, my plans for retirement into risky investing. But this is just like, again, fun money, just something I'm seeing how it goes. And as we see here, it didn't go well. So in the Robinhood brokerage account, I have stocks and crypto. So for instance, from a crypto perspective, I have Bitcoin and XRP, which are doing horrible, just horrible. And then I have a couple stocks as well. Like I have Joby Aviation, I have D-Wave Quantum, I have Palantir, SoFi, I have M&Hers Health, just to name a few. So again, this is just fun. This is not part of my retirement plan. I'm not heavily investing into this brokerage account. So the month of November, I put $0 in and will not be putting any more money in for the rest of the year. So it's just here just to see what happens with it. And maybe, honestly, just to prove that it's just better to stick to your S&P 500 in terms of your retirement versus playing with individual stocks and crypto. All right, moving over to Roth IRA. So balance on that was $56,072.98. That's an increase of $233.56 from the prior month. This is all gains because I did max out the Roth IRA back in March with my 401k. And my Roth IRA is 67% invested in the S&P 500, 27% invested in the total stock market, and 6% invested in the Schwab US dividend ETF called SCHD. Okay, next up is the health savings account. Balance on that was $44,328.22. That's an increase of $707.89 from the prior month. My HSA, I do get employer withdrawals from my paycheck every month into the HSA. So for the month of November, $587.50 went into the HSA from my paycheck. So really the gain was only $120.39. So very minimal, again, because of the huge volatility in the stock market. The HSA is 100% invested in the S&P 500. I do want to note that I have $1,000 of this balance just sitting in cash, just to offer a little bit more security in terms of should something happen to myself or my daughter, there's at least $1,000 of this balance in cash that I can easily withdraw versus having to sell my investments. But so 99% is invested in the S&P 500, and I have 1% or $1,000 sitting in cash. And then moving over to the ABLE account. ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience, and it's an investment / checking account for people with disabilities. I did mention at the beginning, I have one child. She is 6 years old. She is severely disabled and will require lifetime care. So I am trying to save up for her and her future. So the ABLE account, it's really fantastic because you can use it for anything that goes towards the care of the person with the disability. So that's their food, transportation, clothing, housing. I mean, literally anything that they need, you can use the ABLE account to pay for. But as of now, I just have this account 100% invested because I have been cash flowing all of her expenses out of my monthly paycheck. So balance on her ABLE account is $55,165.51. So that's an increase of $146.01 from the prior month. I didn't put any deposit into the ABLE account. The way I'm looking at the ABLE account in terms of like cash deposit, so for the year of 2025, I deposited $7,000 into the account. So I'm viewing it similar to how I would look at the Roth IRA in terms of like quote unquote maxing it out. The actual max amount that you can put into the ABLE per year for 2025 at least is $19,000. So it's a pretty big chunk of change for someone to put in on a yearly basis, which is fantastic. But I am going to just treat it similar to the Roth IRA. So I maxed out my Roth IRA with $7,000, and I put $7,000 into the ABLE account for 2026. I know the contribution limit for the Roth IRA is going up to $7,500, so I'll be putting $7,500 into the ABLE account for 2026. Hopefully that makes sense. But this money is just growing to take care of my daughter in the future. And I'm really proud of where it is, just given that she's 6 years old. So lots of more future growth to come for this account. And as long as I'm continuing to work, then I will continue to contribute to it. All right, and then my last asset is my home, valued at $435,000. This is the purchase price back in August of 2023. So I've kept the price flat the entire year and will indefinitely. Because I want to make sure that my wealth is being built up based off my investments and not necessarily my home. So the change from last month is $0. So total assets for the month of November was $1,308,226.70. So that's an increase of $12,584.27 from the prior month. So that can essentially be contributed to the money that I put into the Ally account, the Ally savings account, and the gain from the M1 Finance brokerage account. Essentially, those two are like the big chunk of why the total assets increased by approximately $12,000. And if we just look at the FIRE assets, FIRE stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. I am on a FIRE path. I do hope to fully retire in 3 years or less. We'll see what happens, but that's what I'm working towards. So I am tracking those assets. So my FIRE assets would consist of my 401k, my M1 Finance brokerage account, the Robinhood brokerage account, my Roth IRA, and my HSA. If you add up the value of those 5 accounts, the value is $797,792.04. A lot of sevens in there. So that's an increase of $5,180.55 from the prior month. And that's essentially because of the increase in the brokerage account. So I'm very, very close to having $800,000 in investments, which is really, really exciting. I'm not counting my daughter's Able account in this number because that's for her future. So it's just those 5 accounts that I mentioned before. So I am almost at the 800K mark. So hopefully I can hit that next month in December, but who knows? Because again, the stock market is so unpredictable. So I could fall below, it could go down substantially, right, for the month of December. But hopefully there is some sort of holiday rally that happens next month where we can all be up significantly in our investments. But we will see. But it would be really nice to end the year with at least $800,000 in investments. And then moving over to liabilities, I just have one, which is my mortgage. I don't have credit cards. I don't play the points game or anything like that. I operate at the pace of cash. If I don't have the cash to pay for something that includes vacations, I don't do it. And if I really want to do it, then I just save up the cash, however long it takes me to save up that cash. And then once I have the cash, that's when I do it. So definitely helps me to stay out of any issues with debt, having that type of mentality. And that's what works for me. So again, I just live my life at the pace of cash. So with just the one liability, which is my mortgage, balance on that is $289,861.34. That's a decrease of $482.86 from the prior month. Now, the mortgage, I do have a 30-year mortgage. I did put quite a bit of extra payments on this mortgage since I've gotten it. So it's actually gone from a 30-year mortgage technically now to a 20-year mortgage because I've, again, just been aggressively paying it down from when I first got it. But the interest rate on it is 6.75. My monthly mortgage payment is $2,117 per month. So as you see here, only $482.86 of that actually goes towards the principal. The rest of it goes towards interest. Now, don't be fooled. I live in New York City. That is not my total housing expense. It's not just $2,117. I do also have monthly maintenance fee that I pay because I live in a co-op. I'm a shareholder in a co-op, and I pay approximately $1,000 in maintenance fee. So on a monthly basis, my housing costs, not including utilities, just the mortgage and taxes and such, is right $3,117. All right, so if you take the total assets of $1,308,226.70 and minus my liabilities of $289,861.34, the net worth is $1,018,365.36. So that is an increase of $13,067.13 from the prior month. So very happy to still be a net worth millionaire. Hopefully, again, December will be a really big month for all of us in terms of the stock market, so we can really see these numbers, increase fairly significantly by the end of the year. But I'm just really proud of myself and the progress that I've made to date. All right. That's the update for the November 2025 net worth. Let me know how yours went, especially with just the wild performance of the stock market. I think we should have all survived and at a minimum be flat from where we were in October. But let me know how it went. Okay, I will catch you in the December 2025 net worth video. Bye.